Delighted to be here once again, this time with Nina from Switch to 11. Nina's a friend of mine from some conferences around the world. She speaks about new ways of working, which I'm a huge believer in. Not necessarily agile, but different ways of working that suits a particular client's context. She is not joined by Yaka today. He is unfortunately not here, but she will do an amazing job. I've seen her speak in person, so I know how well a job she will do. And she's also a specialist in organizational psychology. Nina will introduce herself far better than I, so I'm going to hand over to you, Nina. I believe you've got something interactive for us to get us started.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Nice to meet all of you. And thanks for spending this evening with us, with me and Chris. So, maybe a bit about myself. I'm a psychologist. I worked in clinical psychology, in HR, and I discovered Agile, and then I discovered progressive organizations. So, basically, what I do, I help companies, organizations, teams implement new ways of working or abandon the hierarchies or the formal structures in order to become more more organic, more flexible, more adaptable as an organization, which of course requires a lot of hard work. And in the core of all the progressive organizations are people. So it's all about people, not just employees, but also it's about customers, it's about users. So a lot of progressive organizations are very customer centric, and they adapt based on the segments of customers that they work with. So I've been working in this field, helping companies transform for the last 3 years. Why? Because I have seen a lot of people have mental problems because of work, because of all the bureaucracy, because of all the, I'm sorry, bullshit in the work. So when people ask me what kind of field I'm working, I say that I'm working in preventing mental health. Preventing mental health problems, because if we try to just make work better for 50 people, that's like 50 families. And be aware that we spend a lot of time working, at least 8 hours a day, probably more, and I'll be damned if that doesn't mean that if we can have a better feel, a better belonging in the workplace, that we feel better. So that's the whole psychology that I have around it. So I prepared something for the starters. I would all like to invite you to come to my Miro board. And before we go into what progressive organizations really are, why and how they're organized, I just want to feel the public. So I want to see what you already know. I want to see what are your assumptions, what are maybe the myths you are familiar with. And Chris, if people can find the link, can you just pop it again in the chat? So I'll just wait a bit. I see that right now we have 8 people, and if you don't want to join the Miro, of course you don't have to. But let's just start for this moment. Just I will bring everyone to me. So when you think of a progressive organization, what are your first thoughts? So what are you thinking about? Just write it down. What are your first thoughts? There's no right or wrong. Just write down what kind of associations do you have. Sometimes when you hear progressive organizations, you also hear the word teal. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It was kind of first introduced by Frederic Laloux from Reinventing Organization, an awesome book, which is maybe a bit too hippie for me, or too nicely written, but it's about progressiveness. So let's see what you have wrote down. So, okay, human first, holacracy, small organizations, little hierarchy, emotional intelligence, trial and error, empathetic, staff who push for better standards. Yeah. They don't just follow standards, frameworks, flat hierarchy, output, not location. Awesome. Workplace democracy. They don't just follow standard frameworks. Yeah. Less waterfall system. Correct. Although waterfall is not always bad, so it's not agile good and waterfall bad. Good technology, innovative, open communication, sociocracy, work is seen as learning, can accept when they are wrong, fail fast, okay? Balance between proactive activities and reacting to external feedback, good. Open to coaching, awesome. Yes, a lot of companies that are progressive have a lot of coaches, external or internal. And I will explain. So holacracy or sociocracy, those are just different frameworks that companies use when they're transforming. So you have a whole book on holacracy, with rules actually about how you could make progressive work. But this is just, it's like Scrum in Agile. It's just one of the frameworks. And Sociocracy is actually the same one. We have a lot of different styles. So Holacracy, Theocracy, then you have the Nair group approach, then you have the Semco style approach. These are all just frameworks. But as you said here, companies that are progressive, they don't just follow standard frameworks. They are about continuously improving stuff, which is something that Chris is talking all about. Okay, so we have still holistic thinking across the business. Yes, collaborative, workplace democracy we already have, and experimentation encouraged. Okay, awesome. I see that you already know about progressive organizations a lot, so I'm kind of nervous now. Okay, so but what do you think if we move along? What do you think are the benefits of such organizations? If we just skip to the next slide. Or if you're not used to Mirrorboard, I will just bring everyone to me in 3, 2, 1, and here you are. So what do you think are some benefits of such organizations? Innovation, happier workforce, okay. Aren't held up by legacy hierarchy and structure, correct. Happy people, better retention, yeah. So a lot of the times when I talk with people in HR, they say that they want their employees to be happy. I have a bit of a problem with that because I think that happiness should be a consequence and it should not be the goal. You know, it's like with raising children. If I want my child to be happy, there will be no frustration, there will be no learning, and she will be happy. She will be bored, of course, and she won't know how to handle the frustrations, but she will be happy at that moment. And I think that somebody, where did all the post-it notes go? I think that somebody, can you just, somebody deleted them. Can we just go one back? So undo it, if it's possible. No?
Yeah, not sure who did that, but a Control Z should undo what you've done by mistake there.
And I can't do it because I didn't do it. So okay, let's just
there they are. There they are. There they are.
Awesome. So I will log them now and like just do it like that. Okay. So as I said, I think that happy employees, that happiness is a consequence, not the goal. So because if you want people to actually experience happiness, you should challenge them. You should create an environment where they feel they belong, but actually that they feel that they grow also. And a lot of the times what I see right now is that a lot of managers, because we have problem with getting people, they go into the savior mode and they do everything that they can in order to keep people happy. So, you know, stress free or something, and still people go. Why? Because they're bored. You know, we as a species, we like change. That the fact that we don't like change, it's not true. So, okay, let's see, what do you think are the benefits? So psychological safety, growth encouraged, reduced Gantt charts, innovation, better retention, adapted to the market, yes, success long-term, happy people, financial security, can disagree healthily, yes, you can feel a part of it, so this is the belonging. Systems more flexible, happy customers, staff, and sometimes shareholders. Empowered people take on cooler projects. you can feel a part of it, and better earnings per share. Okay, awesome. But what do you think can be some drawbacks? So I will just bring everyone to me in 3, 2, 1. What are the drawbacks of such organization? Because it's not like, progressive good, hierarchy bad. You have a whole shades of 50 shades of gray in between. So what could be the drawbacks of such of organization? So managers resist because they think it doesn't work. Actually, managers resist not because they think that it doesn't work, but because they lose a lot. You lose your title, you lose your status. It's actually a problem for your ego. So executives want to hold on their status and power. Yes, exactly, a lot of the times. In times of crisis, may be slower to organize without prior planning. Actually, that's not quite true. This is one of the myths. In times of crisis, such organizations are able to respond a lot faster. Why? Because the company is not being saved by 10 top managers, but by all of the people. And imagine the creativity unleashed in that kind of organization. Organizations don't execute agile or way of working properly. Yes, and it can go sour. Financial, if the proper controls are not in place. It may be costlier to learn. Well, all transitions are a bit costly because it's a change, and yes, the productivity fails. No governance, free for all is risk at doing wrong legally, ethically. The fact that it's not governance is a myth. It's not quite true. It's a lot of structure and a lot of governance. So unclear decision making process. Also, yes, it can be the drawback if you don't share the spotlight on that. But a lot of the organizations have clear decision making process. So when do they use consent? When does it, what are the boundaries of decision making? Because you cannot be autonomous if you don't know where you can make decisions. Fear of loss of control, fear of change, loss of power, lack of guardrails. Yes, it's about boundaries, like I said before. And if a business is not used to agile, they can want to hold it on the old ways of working. Yes, you are right, a lot of the times. Okay, so let's just see a couple of myths. Um, there are a lot of myths about progressive organizations as such. So, and those myths are actually not true, because a lot of the times when I talk with people, they say, yes, we really love self-management, all the principle, agile and everything. Let's go that way in a month. And then I say, okay, so that's not self-management. That is actually chaos. So it's not working. You cannot transform a company in a month, even though if there's just 10 people, you cannot do it. So thank you for I'm not English. English is not my first language. So thanks for, and I'm sorry for for because I see that somebody wrote anarchy here. So yeah, so those myths are not true, but they can become if we don't do this properly. It's not true that progressive organizations are stress free. Actually, it means that a lot of people are more autonomous, but with autonomy there comes accountability. You can't have freedom without responsibility and accountability, which can be stressful, and it's not for everyone. That's not true that it's no hierarchy. A lot of the times you have no formal hierarchy, or you have formal hierarchy in some cases, but just not that much levels, because they're transitioning towards that. It's not true that everyone is doing what they want. If this is going on, of course, you cannot be successful as a company, and you cannot be profitable. That doesn't work in any space of life. So it doesn't matter if it's a company, if it's a job, or if it's family. And it's not true that there's no conflicts. Actually, we have more conflicts, but those are conflicts that people perceive them as a tool for progressive, not as conflicts where we are afraid of, telling each other feedbacks because we will hurt somebody's feelings, or so on. And it's a lot of the times we hear it's impossible. So when I talk about self-management, you have to know that we have several levels of self-management. And it doesn't mean that we are totally flat, that we don't have titles, and it doesn't mean that we all have self-set salaries, because a lot of the times this is not something that people are comfortable with, or actually we cannot do that because of the laws in the country. So where we are talking about self-management, it's the same. You have different types or different frameworks that you can use, or different techniques that you can use. What's what's building up together, or what's common for all these companies, is the continuous improvement part, and actually realizing that even though if something worked, I don't know, a year ago for us, it doesn't work anymore. So these are the real challenges, because the principles or the techniques that you are using when there's, I don't know, 50 people cannot be the same that you are using when there's 200 people, because things change. If you think that, I don't know, consensus is something that works well as a decision making process when there's 5 people, when there are 10 people, consensus is one of the worst way to take as a decision making process, because it's very slow and it's very relationship oriented, and a lot of the times it doesn't provide good decisions. So it's about discovering what works and what doesn't. It's a lot about experimentation. It's a lot about testing and seeing what works for us and what it doesn't work. And what's really important, and we will go then into the presentation mode, is that it cannot be copied by anyone. Because even though if we have the same companies, 2 companies, they work in the same field, they have 50 people, one company A has 50 people, company B has 50 people, they cannot have the same organization, because there's 50 different people working in it. You know, it can work for a certain group of people. Maybe waterfall is okay for some part, and for some others it's not. And when you grow as a company, you have to adopt. Like culture evolves, your structure should also. So okay, let's hear maybe more about it, since I have a presentation here. And Chris, if I can share my presentation. Just mm, just a second. And let me know if you will see when I go into. Do you see the
All good on my
slides?
side. Thumbs are coming up. You're all good, Nina.
Yeah, okay. So when we start to talk about progressive organizations and new way of working, I always want to tell people why. Why is it important? Because a lot of the times people say, well, companies are hierarchical for hundreds of years. Yes, exactly, for hundreds of years. Nothing else has changed in hundreds of years, right? But what customers want from us, from any company today, is first of all, they want speed. And here you see the laundry. It's not because they're fast or anything, because you have a company called Hire. It's based in China, and they have I don't know, around 150,000 employees all around the world. They have it in America, they have it in Italy, and everywhere. And they were able to produce a new washing machine or laundry machine in times of COVID, in 14 days. So I won't go into the details, but the fact is that a lot of the times, not just that we're not able to produce a new product in 14 days, we actually are not able to even have a meeting about a new product in 14 days, because we're so siloed or so. So they're very customer oriented. Hire is using Randahei model, and they're very, very fast. They cannot be, their speed is really, really enormous. And actually their quality is spotless also. It wasn't always like that. They were in, I don't know, 1985, they were a Chinese company that didn't have so much employees, and a lot of their refrigerators were not working properly. But that changed over time dramatically. And they want to have, you know, zero. They thought about their companies as an internet. So you have your customers on the other side of the line, and you have to get feedback from them very, very quickly. One of my favorite cases of hire is that a startup of theirs, because they're like a group of startups. They have so a lot of these employees, 150,000 employees, are organized in startups, so not more than 50 people, 15 people in a group, and are connected like an ecosystem. That's why they can be so fast, and they know they're interdependent, of course. So, and one of my favorite cases is that one of the startups had an idea that they would have a Hello Kitty laundry machine. And they went to the Kickstarter, and that was where they got the fund money, and they started to produce. The way with hire is we don't know where hire actually ends. So the boundaries of hire as an ecosystem are quite blurry. The startups in hire, they don't need to collaborate just with startups within the hire, but it's just about speed and efficiency. If you can get somebody who can do better or faster, you should do it. The next thing that customers want from us is efficiency, of course. And this old lady here, she's representing the company called Buurtzorg from Netherlands. And there you have 15,000 nurses self-organized in, hi Hannah, self-organized in teams of 10. And what's very important is that they have only 40 people in backup, and 20 of those people are coaches. And when we are talking about efficiency, this company is working in domestic healthcare, so they provide home care for our elderly people, and they they are so good that 40% of the money that the government was spending on this home care, they saved the money. And their net promoter score, so the NPS score from all these older people that are using those services, is for the last couple of years over 9.3, and their employee net promoter score is actually 9.2. Their fluctuation level is a third smaller than in the rest of the industry. So like you wrote before, it's all about retention, and it's all about keeping the customers happy, and it's all about keeping the customers, so the users, the elderly people, healthier, and have a decent life longer. And then we go into customer centricity. So here we have also a bank. It's called VC. They're a mortgage bank, and they have only 50 employees, and their revenue is 1 billion per year. And they're so popular that if another company sees, another bank sees that a customer got already an offer from VZ, they don't even do anything. They just said, we cannot conquer here. And they have one of the rules that I really like. And they say that you have to give the customer that type of mortgage that you would sign. So it's not about, getting rich on somebody who needs help. It's about educating people about finances, how to handle it, how to get through the mortgages. And they have so much people who want to join VC that they decided that they don't want to grow because they're afraid that their culture will then go sour. And okay, so if we say that our company, that our customers want that we are fast, that we are efficient, that we are customer centric, why are we not? What's stopping us from that? What's the problem? And a lot of the times is that a lot of thing is the problem. Mostly we are very bureaucratic. We have departments. We have centralized decision making. There's emphasis on authority and titles. We have vertical progression. There's only one spot on the top of the hierarchy, and there's no more spots there. So of course it's about competition, and it's not about collaboration. And internally, we have endless meetings. We're drowning in emails. There's no leadership. There's a lot of micromanagement. Employees are disengaged. There's lack of knowledge. And of course, the future is quite uncertain right now. So why is this happening? A lot of the times when we are talking with people, they say, yeah, of course, people are disengaged. It's wrong. There's something wrong with people. And actually, we don't agree with that. So why is like that? Because of the system. So we behave like the system dictates it a lot of the times, not mostly. I mean, mostly it depends on the system that we are working in. And the system is from management 1.0. Of course, these two people, so it's Gant and Taylor, and they have been dead for almost 100 years. And of course, they are the fathers of this. I'm sure you're very well familiar with the hierarchy system. And this is a system that was very innovative 100 years ago when times were different. And it actually helped Henry Ford to be more productive in those times. So, and the only innovation that the hierarchy had in those 100 years are the KPIs. That's it. And when we look at this, it's very nice. It's very shiny. The lines are straight. It's awesome. It's very clear, like who should talk to somebody and who's taking decisions. But the problem is that because of this hierarchy, what's going on is that um, it's it's just on paper. In the reality, it's not. We don't work that way. So even though it works on paper, it's an illusion. So this slide, of course, I'm sure that you're familiar with it. It's not our slide. It's from Management 3.0. But I love this slide because this is reality. This is life. So these are our relationships. We work in a relationships. And it doesn't matter how we try to put it into departments, compartments, or hierarchies. That's just an illusion. This is the reality. And a lot of the times when people are working in hierarchy, it goes like this. I'm the boss and I go, you, Chris, and I don't know, Jack, you two should work together. And I'm not aware of anything about their relationship. And yes, I know you say, but we're professional. We should leave, I don't know, problems behind us. We cannot do that. We really suck at that. So the problem is that I don't know if I have a problem with Chris, I won't be able to work with him properly, because in order to produce good results, to work together as a team, it's all about relationships. It's all about feedback. It's all about managing conflicts. It's not about making it shiny and looking it pretty. But a lot of times when we show the slides, people, of course, they smile, they say, yes, that's true. But they say, Nina, we're organized like that, but we make millions, a lot of millions. And we say, yeah, but the reality is that you don't work like that. You work like that. And that doesn't mean that the CEO is there on the top of the pyramid. But the problem is that management is working. Hannah, could you please stop? That the management is working, I don't know, 12 hours a day. They're stressed, they have heart attacks, and people, of course, are disengaged. And why is that? Because we have the decision making is centralized, but people who have the most information about customers are those that are on the bottom of the pyramid. So people who interact with customers. And there the problems start to appear because of the hierarchy. And like I said before, I don't believe that that's a people problem. I don't believe that people are disengaged because there's something wrong with them. How do I know that? Well, I have been one of those people working in a hierarchy, never know who I have to ask for somebody, Lumpa, who I have to ask for permission, and I never did it wrong. So I stopped asking for permission. It's a situational problem. It's not a people problem. And we have to change the system here. So let's just go into, I'm sure you're familiar with Aaron Dingna's book, Brave New Work. If you are not, please read it. It's awesome. And he has a perfect case where it shows how we behave differently in the systems with the same task. So the task is to go to the other side of the road. And there we have Just 1 second. My daughter decided to give me a hard time. Hani prosím nechaj takový. Da se stanku sam. Nimišlič to. Nechaj. Sorry for that. I'm alone with her, so she has vacation right now and she's cranky. Okay, so the task is that we have to get on the other side of the road. And this control, the crossroad, it's all about control and compliance. The assumption about people is that we have to be controlled and that we have to be obedient. And it doesn't matter if it's, I don't know, 3 a.m. in the morning, nobody's there. I can see clearly that I should be safe crossing the road. But I have to stop at that red light and wait for it to turn green. And that's decided by an algorithm who was written by a person who probably doesn't even go through that crossroad every day. So it's about control and compliance. And what do we do a lot of the times when we're waiting at the red light? I have to be honest, I am quite disengaged. A lot of the times we pick up our phones, we go through the Instagrams or TikToks or anything. And a lot of the times what happens is that the person behind me has to, let me know that, come on, it's green, go. At the same time, when we are in the roundabout, it's all about trust and autonomy. So here, the assumptions about people is that people are responsible, people are capable, people are motivated. And here you have just two rules, go in the right direction, whether it's left or right, of course, depends on the country, and you have to do it safely. And here I'm engaged in the process. I don't pick up my phone when I'm waiting to jump into the roundabout. I see, I observe, and I want to, move safely across it. So what does that mean in numbers? In the roundabouts, you have 75% less accidents. 90% are less with death, so that's a lot. You have almost 90% less traffic jams, and you have a lot of savings per year. Why? Because there's no algorithms, there's no electricity. It's a different system, and people behave according to the system. And when we present this, a lot of the times they say, what do you mean by that? So metaphorically speaking, I just wanted to ask you, how many crossroads do you have in your companies that should have been a roundabout? I'm not saying that we should get rid of all the crossroads, because sometimes some decisions are very important and cannot be made into a roundabout. But just replace a couple of crossroads that you have, a couple of centralized decisions that you have, and push down to people that they have the autonomy to make decisions by themselves. So that's why we are about progressive organizations. And this is a slide from Corporate Travels, I'm sure you're familiar with. And it goes, from profit to purpose and values, from hierarchy to networks of teams, from director leadership into supportive leadership, from planning and predicting into experimenting and adapting, from centralized authority into distributed decision making, and from secrecy into radical transparency, from job descriptions into talent and mastery, and from rules and control into freedom and trust. So it's not just, we go directly from profit to purpose and values, or from everything that's written here to everything that's written on the other side. But if you move the needle just a bit towards the other side, towards purpose, towards networks, towards supportive leadership, you're already doing it a lot. So maybe we can say that we go from this into this. We go into customer centricity. So that means that we design our organization based on the segments of customers that we have and make the teams cross-functional. So why does that matter? Why does it matter that the teams are cross-functional? What's wrong with departments? Well, the problem with departments is that we sometimes have a problem seeing the same goal. But if we are working in a cross-functional team, we have the same goal. So from functional teams that are departments, we go into cross-functional where we have different representatives. And of course, here's a couple of catches. It has to be customer facing, it has to be a segment, and people who are in a cross-functional team have to have the competencies and the information in order to be autonomous. If you don't have decision-making power in the customer, in the cross-functional team, then this won't work. If you don't have the competencies, this won't work. So that's why it's all the hard work. And actually, putting people just together into a cross-functional team and not making it a team, it doesn't work because you have a group of individuals. You don't have a team. So a lot of the times we say that we go so from hierarchy into customer centricity. And here you have, for example, one of the cross-functional team of a marketing organization, marketing agency that we actually transformed. And this was the digital team. And what you can see here are roles. They have 12 roles. That does not mean that there's 12 people in this team. Actually, it's only 5 people. And those 5 people have different roles. And those are the competencies. This is everything that we need in order to make the customer happy. So this is everything that we need from A to Z. This doesn't mean that we have to ask for permission or for somebody else to do something for our team. Because if we do, then we are dependent from somebody else. And that means that we cannot be as fast as we can. And some of those roles are permanent because, for example, I don't know how to develop a web page. That's a permanent role that somebody that has the competencies has. But some roles can be rotating. For example, the facilitator can be rotating, or the people and culture can be a rotating role. And this is something that when we are talking about, I said before that we are progressing only vertically, so through titles and through hierarchy. Here, you're progressing horizontally because what we can see here is that competencies start to mix. Um, a lot of the times, for example, the designers are starting to do something that maybe a person that's doing email marketing is doing, something basic, but everything starts with basic and then progresses. But like I said before, it's not just, picking a framework and redesigning it and that's it. We have a couple of building blocks that are very important. First of all, in transparency. So in order for these companies to work, we have to have open book management. That means that all financial information are transparent in a way that are understandable. This is a very important part because people say, yeah, all of our finances are very transparent, and they open, an Excel file that has 50 pages. Nobody understands it except for the financial people. That's not transparent. So the point is to make it understandable, that people see what they're looking at. A lot of the times we don't know how much a company actually costs because what we see is just our salary that we get on our account. We don't understand other costs that are coming with that. And because we don't have those informations, we cannot make decisions. And we're talking about transparency. It's not about transparency of financial information or any other information that's very important for us to make decisions. It's also about transparency in communication. So we have to help those companies or people to, get feedback directly, be prepared to give it and to receive it. And this is actually a lot harder than just making the finances, notable and understandable. The next is autonomy. One of the things that we use when we start working with a cross-functional team or a mission-based team is that we use competence metrics from Management 3.0. And thank God that we do that, because a lot of the times when we do that, we see that the team actually doesn't have the autonomy because they don't have maybe the competences, or they do have the competences, but they don't want to do that anymore. So in order for this to work, we have to have autonomy, and autonomy comes with responsibility. Autonomy is not freedom, doing everything that I want. Autonomy is actually hard work. And it happens that people decide that they don't want autonomy. They say, just tell me what I have to do and that's it. I don't want to be responsible for the decisions, even though if the decisions are small. And this is something that we work on. So for if you're, I don't know, a manager or a leader, just look at your calendar and look at the meetings that you have and say, okay, so on those 5 meetings this week, I won't go, I won't attend. So if this is something that you're willing to let go. We also do a boundaries exercise where the leaders write down what kind of decisions they're maybe willing to give to the team, and we progress gradually. The worst thing that you can do is that you come and you say to the people, okay, so we decided to go into self-management or agile, or insert anything that's popular, and you're autonomous, do as you wish. We cannot do that. That's not self-management, that's not agile, that's chaos, because people have to learn how to make decisions about it. They have to learn the information that they need, and this does not go over the night, so gradually. Then of course you have psychological safety. You have you wrote it down also. One of the most important stuff that is, and one of the stuff that people actually forget. So right now the driver is, innovation, innovation. We have to be creative, innovative, and so on. You cannot be innovative if you don't have psychological safety. And the fact is that psychological safety is so important that it alters our brain. If you work in a toxic environment, there will be no creativeness, there will be no innovation, because you are all playing it safe. We all have a part of our brain that it's called anterior gyrus, and it shuts off. So you're not even aware if you have a weird idea. And if you don't have a weird idea, you cannot take risk. It's all about safety. And it has been proven that if you are socially excluded, it hurts just as well if somebody would slap you. So if you feel that you are socially excluded, there's a fun fact: just take a pill that you take for physical pain. It works. It's funny, but it works. Maybe if you're not aware about what psychological safety is, it's a mutual feeling. So it's a group feeling that as a member, can be myself in a group. That means that I can be authentic, yes, but what it matters even more is that I can share my opinion, even though if it's opposite to all of the other opinions. So if I'm in a group of 5 and my opinion is totally different than the other 4, I will still share it. That's being psychologically safe. Where does that come from? Actually, 10,000 years ago, we were living in a community, and if you were socially excluded, you died. So we still have pretty much the same brain. How do you work on psychological safety? That's I'm sure that Chris can tell you more, but that's a lot of work, and it never ends, and it's very fragile. If you get just a new member into the team, which is a good thing, right? The psychological safety always goes down. So it has to be something that we are all aware of, and this is a responsibility from the whole team, not just, I don't know, a team leader if you have. Then we have the business rhythm. So a lot of the times the managers are the ones that are giving the pressure. And when we are talking about progressive organization, I always like to say that, the structure or the organization is like the brain, but the business rhythm, that is often from Agile, from Scrum, or anything else, is like the beating heart. It gives the peer pressure. So a lot of companies that are progressive are using dailies, are using reviews, are using retrospectives, maybe not as per Scrum, as per framework. Maybe they don't have dailies every day because they think that it's not necessary, but they have some kind of business rhythm, and it's very it's predictable. So it's not just inside the teams, it's between the teams. And it's also about, when does the people and culture team meet, when does the operations team meet. So it's very clear and predictable, and it helps with information flow. So informations are like blood. We need it to pump it through the organization in order to work. And then, of course, we have collaborative decision making. When I'm talking about collaborative decision making, a lot of the people think, oh, this is about consensus, that we take a decisions that everybody is okay with it. Actually, no, a lot of the times not. We have different types of collaborative decision making. And one of them, of course, is consensus, but we have consent or advice process, which are actually the most used right now in the organization. Does that mean that decisions are always taken within the group? No, a lot of these decisions are actually taken on an individual level, which is, of course, it's natural. But when we're talking, for example, for advice, if I'm taking a decision, I should be aware, maybe think about it, who does this my decision impact has, and talk to this person, to broaden it up. So that makes it faster, and actually decisions are better. But of course, it depends on the number of people that we have. Hana Nihei. Then we have feedback and conflict resolution. A lot of the times, feedback is not present, and conflict is something that's very bad. We are afraid of feedback because we don't want to hurt each other's feelings, and we don't know how people will react to it. But the fact is that feedback is something that we have to have in order to learn and to progress. So sadly, feedback is given in companies once a year, the annual review part. It's all about, 3 months ago you did this and this. That's not feedback. That doesn't help me. And we don't know when we are getting feedback and when we are feed smacked. So if somebody comes to you to vent, that's not feedback, because you give feedback to somebody that you care about, because you want to make them better. And when we're talking about feedback, I don't know if you knew, but the person who is giving you feedback is under stress 3 times more than you are when you are receiving it. So be aware that when you get feedback, of course, think about it. If it's okay, if it was communicated okay, maybe it's relevant, maybe it's not. It's up to you. But at least be grateful for it, because people should care about you when they give you feedback. And yes, we talk about conflict resolution a lot. We learn about conflicts. We learn about the fact that we resolve conflicts in different ways, and that we see conflict as a tool to progressiveness, not as something that turns us down. And then we have role-based leadership. It's not that we don't have leaders in this type of organizations. We have more leaders, because sometimes I'm the leader because I'm the most competent ones, and sometimes my team member is. For example, we have in my team, we have Tia. She's 25 years old. She has actually 0 work experiences, but in some areas she's the leader because she has the most knowledge. I don't know how Gen Z is working on how they are entering the whole work market and everything. She's the leader in that part, and it's not about the titles, and it's not about who's who, but it's about competencies. And when somebody is competent, he can take the leadership position in that project. And of course, at the end, we have Agile. So it's all about iterating when it's possible. It's not always possible, and it's not always good. I know that we're all about, agile, 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 but sometimes agile doesn't work, and it's okay. What's not okay is being stuck in something that you clearly know that it doesn't work, but you still do it because this is something that it has been done for a long time. No, you should change it. So try to be try to iterate as much as you can and try to listen to yourself and to your teams and see what works for you and what it's not. So that's from my presentation, and I'm open to questions or to feedback.
All right. Just I can see some reactions coming forwards for celebrating Nina's great presentation there. Continue those, show some love, and we love the humanity that you've been struggling with your daughter there. Hannah has been making it difficult for you, but everyone's showing you a lot of love in the chat. I know you can't see that, or you haven't been able to follow on that, but everyone was just saying, yeah, it's great to see just the human side. We've all got a life outside of work. We've got kids. Don't worry about it. So I know it's been tough while persevering.
Yeah, it's okay. You know, I'm used to it. So she's my little assistant. Right now she's a bit grumpy because she doesn't have attention from her mom when she wants it. But you know, that's the frustration part that she has to deal, right?
Temporarily.
So,
We'll try not to hold you away from her too much longer.
no
Are there any
problem.
questions for Nina on the presentation she's given for New Ways of Working? I did see a couple of things back in the chat whilst you are digesting. So there was a query back to the hire use case
Mm-hmm.
around the washing machine.
Mm-hmm.
The question was: is what was revolutionary about this new washing machine or the product for it to be released in 14 days?
Yeah.
Do you know how many folks or teams were involved?
No, that I don't know. It was during COVID, and there was the marketing team. So this is the customer facing team. They sensed that hotels would need industrial laundry machines that would wash everything only above 65 degrees because it ends COVID. And before that, the washing machines were not mm, able to do that, or were not industrial made just for that. So that's when they from when the marketing team sensed it. So that was 14 days that they made a whole new washing machine that was industrial sizes for hotels only for COVID. So that was the case. And the other case with the washing machine was that they saw that they, from a certain area in China, they got a lot of repairs. So laundry machines came, they were dirty. So, you know, mud was in it. And they said, okay, so what's going on with that? And the customer facing team went there to check. And they saw that farmers actually are washing their vegetables inside the washing machine because of course it sells better. You know, if the carrots or the potatoes are not dirty, you can sell it for more. So what they did, they programmed a new how do you say, a new program for washing vegetables, and they in the software. So they didn't go, you know, to the farmers and say, you know, no, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't wash vegetables. No, they saw this is a problem for farmers, we should help them out. And then they got washing machines just for vegetables, for example. So this is the efficiency that we're talking about. Yeah. um just to see the other questions here.
I can't see any of their clear questions right now. Lots of just there's comments on what you were saying.
Yeah, I see here. So loneliness has as much as of an impact on life expectancy as smoking. Yeah, that's correct. And the problem is, what I find sad is that a lot of people work in like big organizations, you know, thousands and thousands of people in the same organization, but they feel that they're just a number. They don't belong anywhere. The problem is that we feel that we belong when we're in a small group, and we don't feel that we belong when we're, I don't know, in a group of thousands. You can be lonely in a mass. So, and yeah, this is something that's very, very important, and I think that this will be like an epidemic, or we actually see that in Japan already. And I think that this will be tackled with progressive organizations also.
There is a question from Morgan. They were querying about the bank that you referenced earlier.
Yes, it was VC. Yes,
yeah,
VC. Yeah, VC. So we know one of the owners, Tom, and we talked with them. And here's a funny story. So you would think that he would have a lot of meetings every week. Actually, Tom, as the head coordinator of VC, he has just 2 meetings in a week for 2 hours. So two meetings, 1 hour one and 1 hour the other one. The first one is about PR. So what's written about VC? Are they sending the right message? And the second one is about people's dreams. So they have one of the cross-functional teams where they help people realizing their dreams. And it doesn't actually matter what kind of dreams there are, or if they're even connected to VC or not. It's about, making people aspire to be better and to realize their dreams. So this is something that's very, very interesting. It was very interesting to me. It's called VC. So I will just write it down.
There we go.
Yeah.
Question from Jovan. What top 3 things would you recommend for a tech startup under 50 people to implement and work their way towards a progressive collective?
Well, that depends, because I don't know what you are already doing. And when we start to work with organizations, there's no one-stop shop, or you should do this and you will be progressive. It's a lot about personalization. But coming from, for example, that I don't know anything about you, I would say that just look about how transparent you are in informations. So transparency of information, the first one, the financial information, profit sharing, and about how you're organized. So if you have 50 people, you probably have a couple of customer segments. So are you cross-functional, or are you in departments? So just start to see what would go maybe better. But actually something that all of you can do is maybe just go back to your people that you work with and do, a retro. Ask them what works well and what they would like to change, and start working on that change with them. So it doesn't have to go, into frameworks or anything. Just ask them what bothers them and what you can do and what they can do, and test it. That's the best way to, try to do something differently.
One of my favorite techniques for that is you get a large group of people, like a scaled retro, and you say, right, this is the pain avalanche. And you've got this visual of like a big mountain, imagine it's your Everest, and all of the post-it notes cascading down this mountain is the avalanche of pain that's hitting your people, your company. So what's holding you back from achieving our top goal? What's painful for you right now? And then obviously you can sort and aggregate that data, design some experiments that look to move the dial on addressing some of them. I find that works quite well.
Yeah, and you don't have to use words like agile or progressive or self-management. I don't like to use them so much, because it has a lot of buzz, and it's not really working for everyone. It's just about, like Chris said, what bothers you, what would you address first, what would you change. Just get the movement starting, because people will tell you. If they don't tell you, then you have a problem with with psychological safety, and you should start to work on that. And this is like one of the most important steps. So include everybody in the change. Don't centralize it. That's like, don't do that. That's one of the biggest mistakes that you can do.
I find a surefire way to cause change resistance is to inflict change upon people. So I'd rather say, right, here's what we're trying to achieve, and then co-create that together. So you're inviting people to be part of the change. And
exactly.
There was a question there about how could you introduce some of these practices where leadership doesn't respond well to words like agile and lean? Should we just not use them? I actually gave a presentation at a conference last week in Agile where I said, just stop talking about Agile.
Yeah.
Genuinely, right? Because leaders don't buy Agile. They care about the outcomes. They care about the earnings price per share. They care about being responsive. They don't want Agile itself. They want what Agile brings about. So sometimes
Exactly.
don't talk about Agile, especially because everyone already talks about Agile with so many things. It's Agile HR, Agile marketing, it's Agile this, it's Agile that. If you've been through various iterations of some form of transformation, some have been somewhat successful, some have been a failure, you've got this already stigma towards Agile in your head. And then also, Agile is more the norm nowadays, so you shouldn't need to talk about it as much. Just building the feedback loops that enable you to learn and adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I would agree here. So we also, I mean, when we use, I don't use lean at all, because here in our part in Slovenia, people don't respond well to that. So we don't use that at all. I use Agile sometimes if I see that people are, people ask me directly, or that they use it in the conversation. But we talk about, making work better for everyone, to be more productive, yes, more profitable, but also, that people are having a sense of belonging and that they're engaged. It's not about Agile, it's like I said before, this is something that's popular right now. And yeah, thanks for reminding me, Chris. I have a problem with Agile being in departments. What's up with that? We have it in IT, we have it in HR, we have it in marketing. I mean, come on, we're talking about cross functionality, and we're the ones putting into departments. That doesn't work. I mean, I have a problem with that, because sometimes I see that maybe Agile is now it lost a bit of the purpose, and we have all of this new stuff coming up, not to help people but to make profit, and I'm not supporting that.
All right. I know some people have to drop now. Are there any final questions for Nina before we close things out for today's session of the Virtually Agile Meetup? Okay, I have just shared some links in the chat for our upcoming meetups. We've got the next one is facilitating product decisions with Shipra Khan. That's next week, February 27th. We've got dysfunction mapping with Michael Lloyd, and we've got a mystery topic with Mr. Artur Margaroni at the end of March. So we look forward to seeing you at one of those events. Thank you again, Nina. Do give some more final appreciation for Nina via the sounds, via the reactions, via typing, via speaking aloud if you're feeling it.
Thanks.
And again, great to see you all. Until next time, gang.